I live in a neighborhood called Old Southeast, which in many respects is sort of the mirror image of your neighborhood. It's a neighborhood with a lot of artists, a lot of older houses, a lot of houses that need to be renovated. I moved there 23 years ago, went to a neighborhood meeting, and the next month they told me I was the president. I figured that was a bad sign. In any event, that whole process really taught me about the city government. It ended up that I ended up essentially being in charge of trying to turn around the neighborhood. And we had all the issues. We lived candidly next to neighborhoods that were much more troubled than ours, that had all kinds of crime-related issues. Probably 85% of the houses needed to be rehabbed. So we had lots of code enforcement issues, lots of issues of absentee landlords, some good, many not. And so that's what pulled me into the process of working in our city. And so over time, I candidly learned how to turn around neighborhoods. A lot of it was trial and error, but I understand how to do that. And and I need to say that the city used to understand how to do that. There was a time when we had a deputy mayor for neighborhoods, and what was powerful about that, and sometimes you don't realize it until it's gone, is that the police, housing, economic development, codes, they worked as if they were one group. And frankly, there were meetings every month where you forced accountability. Here were the 10 issues we're working on, and there were expected to be results. Much of that we've lost. Some of that was because some of it is selfish ego things, because it was Dave Fisher's idea, and then some of it was budget related. But we have really decimated all of the things that helped us turn neighborhoods around. And it takes all of the pieces. I mean, yesterday I was on the worst street in my neighborhood, and I ended up getting there a few years ago because somebody tried to give me a couple of houses on the street. So, you're trying to give me these houses? Well, yes. I said, well, why? Well, because nobody else would take them. Well, the reason nobody else would take them was it was the most aggressive drug and entrenched drug dealing I'd ever seen. And frankly, it took me about a year and a half to drive the drug dealers off the street. And when I was there a couple of days ago, oh, by the way, one of the effects of that was that there were about 8 foreclosed properties, in a block and a half, because people walked away. It was a pretty dangerous place. I mean, at first people wouldn't even talk to me, and eventually people would call me as long as I didn't know their name and report crimes. Yes, I'm watching it as we speak. But the good news is that having driven the drug dealers out of there, created some pressure on some of the landlords, pushed some of the banks. The first real rehabber is in there doing the first house. But it's a process. And frankly, it didn't have to be like that. If we'd had more proactive policing, it wouldn't be like that. And so turning around neighborhoods is not rocket science. It's pretty straightforward. And it starts with crime. And you see it on 34th Street, and the issues you have with the flophouse motels. First you got to get rid of, in that case, it's hookers and drug dealers. But it has to be a higher priority. We have allowed ourselves to be overwhelmed by this, and to sort of be back on our heels. But that isn't necessary. We know how to do this. There are people sitting in this audience who led some of those efforts in the city. One of the things I would tell you that what I work on more than anything else is housing. It happens to be something I have a moderate amount of experience at. Sort of like Bob Jeffrey, I became a renovator by desperation, and I began renovating boarded up houses in my neighborhood. And over time, you sort of learn what works and what doesn't work. What part of the city is effective and what is not. Let me talk about jobs for a moment, if I may. One of the great errors that we have made as a region is to focus on tourist jobs. Yes, but we obviously have We are obviously an easy tourist area.
Please wrap in 30 seconds.
We'll do that. But they're lousy jobs. And so we have got to radically change the kind of jobs that we go after. Those are the kinds of things I'll work on. My name is Karl Nurse. I would appreciate your vote. Thanks.